Hello and welcome to Ham Nation, episode 520 for May 11th, 2022. And how's it going, everybody? I'm Josh, KI6NAZ. Thanks for clicking on Ham Nation again here on the Ham Radio Crash Course. Got a big show, a lot of very interesting characters, and so we're going to dive right into it and say hello. Back again, Bob Heil. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, and I hope you and all of the viewers are, and we missed you. So here I am. Look forward to seeing a lot of people in just, about a week and a half or whatever. So we're all going to talk about Dayton because it's a big deal in amateur radio, and I'm glad to always be a part of that. So thanks for spotlighting that. Good to see everybody here, and thanks for keeping it going, Josh.
Oh, thank you, Bob. It's an honor to be able to do this, so thanks for putting me in this position a bit. Gordo, how are you doing?
We're doing fine, although we have huge fires right in our local Southern California area, and monitoring the hams, helping out with evacuations. It's really a bad deal today for local Orange County. But good news is we're going to look forward to seeing you, Josh, at Hamvention in the W5YI booth and all over the place like Bob will be.
Indeed. Don, how are you?
Doing well. It's warm. It's near 90 degrees down here during the day. The humidity is a little bit less, and I think we may get some rain towards the weekend, but no fires down here, thankfully, and no tornadoes either, which is kind of nice for a change because we, New Orleans had one not too long ago. But no, we're doing well. We've got Dr. T tonight to talk about a little bit of solar weather stuff, and I've got I'll tell you a little something about probably the coolest souvenir that you can get, or one of the cooler souvenirs that you can get at Hamvention, and that's coming up.
All right. Amanda, you staying cool over there? What were you telling us before, how hot it is?
It was 89 degrees. I think it's down to 87 now. And once the sun goes down, we'll finally cool off here. We'll be at 50 degrees in 2 hours. But wow. Hello, everybody. Hello, chat room. Thanks for joining us tonight, and thanks to our wonderful guests. We have one more guest we're going to be chatting with later on. We got Mike Bruo, and he's going to be talking all things Skywarn. We're talking about tornadoes and fire weather. He's here to tell us why we need to become part of Skywarn and what his local Skywarn group does as well. So can't wait to hear from him, and so stay tuned. Big show. We're all going to be watching the chat room tonight because we're all going to be super busy. So make sure you highlight us and make sure we see your comments, and we'll try to get to them. So with that, over to you, Josh.
Yep, make sure you drop the questions or tag Amanda and I, and we'll try and answer your questions. And don't worry, we'll be talking to Bob more here shortly. But first, I have the honor of talking to Michael Kalter. How are you doing? How are you feeling right now? A week looking forward to Hamvention.
Thank you. Doing great. We're all excited. Things have really fallen together. Ticket sales are strong. The weather's beautiful here. And I am really excited. I get letters from people, emails from people, and that are very, very excited we're going to have the Hamvention finally. We're so happy about that.
Yeah, I get to pull up the website every once in a while, and I can look at the counter, and I'm like a week away. And it feels like that's going to be done in a snap here. I'm really looking forward to it. It's obviously we haven't had it for a couple of years. I'm very excited. So what's kind of new and interesting? There was a couple of things we were talking about before the show that you want to make sure people know about again, because we're almost less than a week away here.
Yeah. For those of you who are attending Contest University on Thursday, we are sharing with Contest University the cost of a bus to go between the hotel into Hamvention. That's an exciting thing. We have an app that has now been released. It was an app that was done jointly with the ARRL, and it is now downloadable on the website. It is really, really good. There's good instructions. It's easy to use. And I've heard so many positive comments about it. So please take a second to check that out. If you have or know somebody who's coming and maybe they're just going to be there Sunday, admission is free on Sunday. You get a special ticket to go in, although you can't put it in the prize barrel, but you can come in free. If you got somebody interested in being a ham and just wants to find out a little bit about it. I want to take a quick opportunity to thank all of you for having me on the show and for keeping the show going. The more communication we get out in a positive way of what amateur radio does, this is fabulous. And I know that we all take hits now and then. This isn't good, that isn't good. But you guys just do such a wonderful job. And thank you again for letting me on the show. And I also want to thank our 750 plus volunteers. I'm just a volunteer. I always like to thank them. So when you get to Hamvention and you got a volunteer out there, whether they're helping you park or get from here to there, thank them, because they're doing it all for free, and they're doing it because they believe in Hamvention, they believe in amateur radio.
It's always such a special event, and I assume that this year is going to be no different. I think you mentioned tickets. It's nice to hear that it's going to be another big year. As always, myself personally, I'm always interested to hear what any new interesting food you want to mention. Anything new and fun that you can tell us about that's going to be there.
We have added some more food trucks, and some of them are ethnic, and but I think that they're listed on the website. If not, they will be shortly. But they will be on the app, and the food is great there. I think. And when we moved from Heil Arena to Xenia, and that was one of the stipulations, got to have better food, and we don't want to hijack people on high prices. We know you got to make a profit, but people want to eat, they want to be treated fair, and we're working on getting a limit on the price of a bottle of water. We did that last Hamvention.
Well, every year, the food is a big draw, but you've got such a large space. You've got lots of talks. You've got all the vendors that are going to be there, the flea market, all those interesting things. So that's, the big draw for me. It always feels like I'm going to pace myself this time, but I never end up being able to do that because I always feel like I'm going to miss something. I'm really excited about the Hope Hotel having the Contest University and the bus system running back and forth. That's going to be really nice for people. Is there anything else you want to mention? I think you might have some slides you want to show while we're here.
Yeah, I thought it'd be interesting to take a look at some slides out of the history of Hamvention. I want to show some slides from 1957, and it won't take very long, but I think you might find it very interesting. So we ready to go on that?
Yes, sir.
Date Hamvention, 1957. We had a small program back then. Now, Hamvention actually started in 1952, but, I've been trying to find earlier pictures, but I haven't been able to. But this is a pretty good representation of it. It was at the Biltmore Hotel, and I know that Bob Heil was there. I'm not sure about Gordon. He was probably there too. And if you can you see my cursor on the screen?
Yes, a bit there. Yep, yeah, we can.
Okay. That was Bob. See what that is? That was Bob Heil's parking spot right there. And, so we were really glad. Really glad to have him there. So anyway, that's the old Biltmore. Let me move along here. And it was jointly done at the Engineers Club of Dayton because it was growing a lot by 1957. So we did some work at the Engineers Club. And there's a group of people there. I really don't know what they're doing or what they're talking about, but I'm sure they're talking about ham radio, but they all have a sullen look on their face. And I want to point out something. I want to point out the ties, the coats and ties. And,
yes.
And you'll see this through this short presentation. It was amateur radio. I think everybody's respectful now, but it was different back then. And, there's a couple of guys working a booth. I think that guy there must have made a big sale. So I looked up some of these call signs, and I just could not. They were all gone or whatever. So 57, there's a few people that are still here, I'm sure, but I couldn't find many call signs. Now look at this. The YLs were very active, and you'll see this. And see all the sport coats that everybody's got on. It's a pretty amazing event. And taking in a little bit of money. And this is the history of Hamvention, which is, to me, pretty daggone exciting. So let's see. I can get to the next two. Here's a look at the booth. I hope you can see that. Look at these people. I mean,
that's great.
Dressed well, but look at the crowd in there. I mean, this is where it was happening. And you can see that, we still have the curtains and the signs, and they're showing their wares off. Very interesting. And stop me if you see something that is really interesting that you want to talk about. Maybe somebody you knew. Look at that, the old Heathkit Electronics Center. Here's their booth. Notice the guy smoking there. Pretty interesting. It's back smoking these days. But don't worry, this gets even more exciting. Look at that thing, night kit. I built a night kit when it's R55A receiver. I still have all the solder scars on the tops of my legs from dripping solder. But I was so excited, and it was just so much fun doing that. Boy, look at that beast.
That was cool.
And this young lady here, she's working some Hallicrafters, and they got a women's convention team too, a YX group and a YL group, and I'll have some pictures of that in just a minute. But look at this stuff. Isn't that amazing? I mean, this is the history of what we did. I looked up this guy's call sign, but it was not there. But if you look, this is the 9th annual national convention, and so it was very cool to have a national convention. Dayton Amateur Radio Association and Hamvention has had a good relationship with the ARRL, and I think it's getting even stronger now. But
interesting part of that picture.
Wonderful radios.
What was that, Bob?
Interesting part of that picture, the Globe Scout was World Radio. The scope was West Shum Central Electronics. The transmitter was an HT37 Hallicrafters, and so was the receiver. So this must have been like a special event station, but it was all great manufacturers of that gear.
Could it have been the flea market area?
I don't think so.
No?
No, there
No, that's inside.
was no flea market there.
There was no.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Great stuff.
And I
cool.
noticed the drinks. It looks like they've got some kind of magic potion on the tray there. They're dealing up. And I wonder what the guy's got in the box. Probably some sort of antenna. So
Wow.
now this is where it gets really interesting. You see where my cursor is? That's Tim Duffy right there.
Ah,
Pretty sure. I mean, it looks like him, doesn't it?
Where is that?
And and this is at the Hamvention, and look what they're doing. They're doing they're getting ready for a
Radio
fox hunt
direction finding.
in 1957.
Nice.
wow.
Right, and this guy here, that was Gordon West's younger brother right there. And
It was.
Where was Tim?
yeah, and there's Carol. I think that's Carol Perry. Tim. I think that's Tim. So looks like him, doesn't it?
Wow.
But look at this group, and then they're going out fox hunting, and a lot of them are still, dressed really well. I don't know how you go outside and fox hunt. They must have had it inside somewhere. And but this guy back here is Ron Moorfield. He was he'd been to every Hamvention. He just passed a few years ago, and he was a great friend of ours and did a lot for Dare. So anyway, I thought you'd find that picture pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I do. That's
Don't know
great.
what this guy's doing. He's checking to see if, he's seeing if he could. I don't know why he's got his finger on there. I've been pondering over that. And his hair's not straight up, so I'm not sure what. Are you guys enjoying this, or is it boring?
Yes.
No, these are great
it's
pictures.
the
Yeah,
best.
this is
Great.
great.
Love the history of this.
Yeah.
And then here is one of the forums. This is what made Hamvention pretty big back in those days. With the forums.
Wow.
And you see these young fellas here, and that are. I'm pretty sure that that guy there is Bob Heil, because I know he probably was there working on it.
But I was a presenter. I was a presenter in that
probably
room.
In 1957? In
59.
You were?
In 59.
Okay.
Yeah, I recognize that room. Wow.
This looks a little, look at these guys, all dressed to the nines.
Wow.
I think this is a forum at the Engineers Club, and they all wrap attention. I mean, they're all seeming like they're paying attention, except this guy up here is nodding off a little bit. But the rest of everybody else is.
That's Wayne. That's Wayne Green.
And here is the DXCCers that we're meeting. I had a little bit more of a close-up of that. This is, look at these guys.
Sharp.
This is great.
Pretty interesting. And I zoomed in a little bit. In 1957, Dayton Hamvention DX Forum. And I don't know any of these people. I wish I did, but it's first class. These guys took it seriously. They took amateur radio. I think we all do, and there's a couple of important ladies here that I think she just bought one of those radios, and she's thanking her. Probably for her husband as a present. Oh, no, for her son. And this is a panel group, and this is a YL group, which is pretty amazing to do that back then. So I thought you guys, and to all the ladies there, might really find this very interesting. At Hamvention, the ladies were very involved. Still are. This is a banquet, it looks like, of sorts. Pretty good food, pretty well dressed up. I was looking for you, Gordon, but I didn't see you in this one. But there's Gordon right there. Gordon is giving a speech, and he's, look at that. That's the Gordon look. He's making everybody feel good. And I think that might be an early Heil mic. I'm not sure, but Bob, is that one of your early mics?
That's an RCA ribbon microphone. It's a broadcast mic.
Yeah. Wonder what that's worth today.
I thought you would find it.
Yeah.
A lot of money.
But, he's got a guy's dressed a lot like Gordon would. Yeah. So is that you, Gordon?
No, it may be my tie, though. I didn't hit town until 69. 69, my first Dayton.
And then there's that picture of you with no shirt at Dayton, too. So that was several years later, yeah.
But just the bow tie or just no shirt, right?
No, just the no shirt, yeah.
There's some people. I don't know who these guys are. And that guy obviously must be pretty important. He might be the president of the Engineers Club or something like that. So, dressing. And then another banquet. Look at this young man right there. I mean, he's like paying attention. He's a media guy. And this is Riley Hollingsworth when he was a kid, right there. Look at that look. He's about ready to get you.
Mm-hmm.
So cool.
So anyway, that is, I thought you might enjoy just a quick look in the past of Hamvention.
That was cool. Thank you, Mike. Hey, I have one last question for you. So I'm on the website. You mentioned again, how many people are volunteering for this massive undertaking? How many people do you have right now?
About 750, something like that.
Wow.
I noticed, which is amazing. I noticed that the volunteer link is still on the site. Are you guys still looking for volunteers, for people to help as we get closer here?
Yeah, there might be a few committees that could use some help. But, if somebody's interested in it, all they need to do is follow through on the site.
Well, very good. And again, the website is hamvention.org. We'll put it in the show notes, but it's already in the live stream chat. So, Michael,
Right.
yeah, thank you so much again for being on, taking some time. I'm sure you have quite a busy schedule as we get closer here. Any last thing you want to mention before we hand it off?
Yeah, I do want to mention that I know you're going to do a Skywarn presentation later, and I'm heavily involved in our Skywarn. I'm a net control operator at our National Weather Service in Wilmington, Ohio, which covers southern half of Ohio, northern Kentucky, eastern Indiana. Very much a believer in the Skywarn process. I could tell you some interesting stories there, but I do want to mention there. Look at the forums page, plan it out ahead of time, get on the apps, and figure out what you're going to do. If you go there and you just go, now what am I going to do? You kind of are losing out. There's just so much great stuff. And I do want to mention, last time we were on here, I was on here last year, Gordon mentioned, oh yeah, I got mentioned by, I got an award from Hamvention. My first year on the awards committee was 2006 and then, or 2005, and in 2006, Gordon was Ham of the Year. I also believe Bob Heil's been Ham of the Year, and so a lot of amazing people have had the honor, but that's keeping amateur radio strong.
Thank you, Mike.
We believe that. I know you're welcome, but I do want to mention that. We got to talk a minute on just about how important not only Hamvention is, but all of us that are doing our share to help this tremendous service that amateur radio. It's like this. We get dinged a lot, and people want to complain. People who care appreciate what you're doing. We're trying to do at Hamvention, and what so many other organizations are. Backseat drivers don't know the feel of the wheel, but they sure know how to make it. With that, this is 73, and if there were any other questions, let me know. But thank you for having me on the show. See you in about a week.
Oh, thank you,
You
Mike.
got
And
it.
I love those kind words at the end. I'm really, again, looking forward to it, and I'm going to give you a big handshake when I see you. So we'll talk to you soon, okay? Amanda, I'm throwing over to you. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. And Mike, stick around because we're going to have another excellent Skywarn presentation. And since you're passionate about Skywarn, I think you'll appreciate this next fellow that's going to come up after our keynote tonight. And this is funny. Bob ended an email with me the other night. He said, "It's funny that I'm thanking you for letting me be on the show." And no, that's absolutely not true, Bob. I felt really weird tonight. Did anyone else feel this way when Josh introed the show and it wasn't Bob saying, "Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ham Nation"? I felt weirded out. But anyhow, Bob Heil's here, K9EID, the proprietor of this show, who we couldn't thank enough for being invited on. Bob, how you doing? I think you have some news, too, about Dayton and maybe some other things.
Well, I'm glad to be here, and greetings to everybody. I miss everyone. And we've been extremely busy doing workshops for clubs. The last night, I think, was number 258 that I've done since February of 2020. And so the clubs are all across America, UK, so on. I just love sharing this hobby, and it all started with me pretty much with Dayton. My first radio in 1956 was a Harvey Wells, which I still have. It's right over there. I was on the air this morning with it. That's pretty much the same station, and I use it quite a bit. And I learned so much about ham radio and building things. A couple of weeks as I was on the air, I met up with this guy. He was on 6-meter sideband. That would never been done. I thought, what is this? He was an engineer here at KMOX, and he took me under his wing and taught me how to build one of the first 10 single sideband stations on 6 meters. At least that's what the league had told us. And so that grew really quickly. I had a 110-foot Roan with a 36-foot long antenna and some J-beams on 2 meters. I was a serious ham radio operator in the VHF region because I was a technician for 17 years. And in 1959, I built this Johnson 6 and 2 Thunderbolt. So I had 1.5 kilowatts. And I was just going crazy. I had 128 elements on 2 meters, just crazy kid. Well, I got a call one day from Bob Drake, W8CYE. Yes, he was the founder of the Drake Company. Are you the guy that's got that kilowatt on single sideband on 6 meters? And I said, yes, sir. He said, we would like to invite you to one of our club meetings. We hold an annual technical meeting. And we'd like for you to come and tell us how you built that. Well, I wanted Larry Burrows to go with us because he was the guy that helped me build it, but yeah, CBS wouldn't let him off. So a friend of mine had an airplane, a little air coupe, and off we went. Where'd we go? To Biltmore, downtown Dayton. This was 1959. I was amazed. They had taken all the furniture out of one of the floors, and in all those rooms, you could meet the greats. These were stars to me that I had been reading about in QST and CQ. Bill Halligan of Hallicrafters, Wes Shum, who invented or who brought single sideband. It wasn't Art Collins, it was him. He was 6 years earlier. But all of these guys were there, the Telerex guys, the J-beam antenna. I was absolutely mesmerized. And I did a workshop for them because they wanted me to explain how I had built this kilowatt single sideband station. And so I had all the drawings and put things together. Larry Burrows, K0DGE, he helped me. And so I have fond remembrance. The guy that was really a front there a while ago, when you notice, he was the guy that brought me to the show in 1982. He met me at the airport, and I was the ham of the year that year. And so they flew me to Dayton, and there was the program, the young Bob Heil there. But in those days, I was really into of course, playing the organ professionally at the restaurants and all that. But we had such a great time. Everybody treated me so well. Roy Neal, who became a really good friend afterwards. I used to work him on the air every morning on 20 meters. But these are friendships that you grow through amateur radio, and it never fails. I mean, no matter how old you get, these friends are still there, and they can be there every morning, every afternoon, just to push a little button and away you go. But the Dayton Hamvention is very dear to me. It's why I spend a lot of time, and I try to get a lot of people to understand it's not just a convention. It's really a camaraderie of a lot of people that make this hobby go, and the real tried true engineers that design the equipment and so on, they're there. You can go talk to them in their booths, and it's astonishing to me. And again, I've garnered some very, very great friendships through the years. And of course, one of them is Michael Kalter in the later years that we learned to know each other. And so it's really wonderful that we're able to keep this going. It was a little shaky there for a while, but I knew that it would happen because they have great strength of volunteers in Dayton, Ohio. And that was the big part that I was kind of afraid that some of that might have fallen off, but didn't. It grew. And we really hope that all of you get to go. This year, we're going to do something a little different. We're not going to have our 100-foot booth. Yes, our booth is usually 100-foot long. We're going to spend time with our dealers. So you'll be able to go to DX Engineering and Gigaparts and R&L, and we'll be searching and finding these dealers. We have assorted times. If you really want to catch up with me at 10:50 and Saturday morning, I'm doing a workshop forum, and I think it's Building B, but it'll be in the program. So come and say hi to me afterwards. That'd be the best place to catch me, but I'll be around. You'll find me. But I get to do one thing that I have never done, Michael. And I told my guys, I said, now look, when you're planning all of this, I get to have an hour and a half of mine. And you know what that is? I've never been able to go to the flea market. I went a couple of times, but I'd get out there about 5 or 10 minutes, and then I felt really strange because there was a lot of people wanting to see me, and they were calling on my phone. Oh, okay, so now I get an hour and a half, and I hope I can work out something to get me a golf cart or something, or rent that for an hour and a half, because I want to run up and down the aisles and see some of my old Hamfest buddies. So that's what you're going to find me from about 11 to 1 o'clock. So a lot of people I know will be there in the flea market that I know. So I get to do that this year, and I'm really excited about it. So that's what's going to happen with us this year. We're going to have some real spectacular things. You can go on the website and find it. They're going to have a lot of promotional items and stuff like that. So I'm really happy about that. But thank you so much for keeping this all going, everybody. And I don't think there's a week goes by that somebody doesn't send me an email, a phone call, or on the air building the pine board that we developed right here on Ham Nation. So I'm really excited that it's turned a lot of people into building, and that's why I did it. So thanks so much, Josh and Amanda and Don and everybody to keep all this going. And thanks to all of the volunteers and the people at Dayton to make the Hamvention still there and a lot of fun. That's what it's all about. So we won't have our bow ties on. I miss all that. I wish we could see a lot of people dress up, but those days are gone. So we'll still be there, and we'll be looking for you.
Absolutely, Bob. But I think you should take more than 2 hours personally. Take more than 2 to go through the flea market and have some fun. But so your time is limited, so nobody be stingy out there in Dayton. And I think we still need to have the discussion. Is it Dayton now still, or is it Xenia?
No, it's always going to be Dayton for me.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Always be Dayton.
Always Dayton. Okay.
Yeah, one other thing I must say, there's a rumor running around that I have retired. Where in the heck did that come? You didn't read the press release. Sarah has retired. I'm still there. Oh, yes. So wherever that started, I don't know. My stepson has kind of taken her place. Of course, he's been with us for years. Some others that have been there a long time. But nope, you're not going to get rid of me that easy. You can spread all the rumors you want, but I'm still here.
Very good. We love that, Bob, and we want you to stay. We want you to keep creating new stuff for us. But this is my time. I'm going to throw it to all of our hosts who have been here with you mostly from the start. So, Gordo, you got any comments for Bob tonight? Take it away.
Yep. I still have one of his original 6-meter QSL cards because we worked back in the old days. Thanks, Bob, for all you do.
Thank you.
That's so cool. What? Gordo, you're going to have to show that QSL card off sometime on the show. Don, how about you?
You know, one of my coolest memories of Heil is when you and I first met, Bob. I don't know if you remember this. It was at the Huntsville Hamfest, and I came up to you and I said, Hey, Bob, I'm Don with Newsline, and you had heard of me, which is kind of cool. And I said, listen, I've got one of your microphones I'd like you to take a look at. And you said, well, yeah, just send me an email or give me a call when I get back. I said, no, actually, I have it here. and you kind of were taken back and said, "Oh, okay, so I did this." I said, "Here, what do you think about this?" And of course, that's the PR40. And I remember you had to. We had to help you pick your chin up off the floor. I don't think you'd ever seen a tattoo of one of your microphones on anyone. So anyway, I was glad that could be a special moment. And another moment that I remember also at Huntsville, you were there one time, and it was a Friday during setup, and I walked up, and you were on your cell phone, so I wasn't going to interject myself, but I just waved at you. You said, "Oh, come on over here." You were trying to set up your booth. You were flying solo that weekend, and you. This was the conversation. It was so funny. But, okay, honey, your boyfriend just walked up here. Talk to Sarah. And so just the best. I love you and Sarah so much, and I'm so proud to be your friend and to be part of the Ham Nation family here. And you started it all, and we all have you to thank for it. So thank you. Appreciate you being in all of our lives.
Thank you very much. Well, there's a lot of people to thank, because it was more than just me, that's for sure. And you guys and gals had a lot to do with it.
Yes, definitely. Thank you to our contributing hosts as well, K7AGE, Val NV9L, and K0NEB, Joe, Kitman. So we all have such a good time together, and they really bring some great content, I'll tell you. So, but we miss having the Bob segment every week.
We need to get you on here a little more often.
A little bit more often.
I thank all of you. I'm going to have a very special guest in my new studio that's here in Belleville that I built. Actually built it for my ham radio, but it also is a place for my theater organ, because I do a lot of concerts out of here on Zoom and other things. That's about 10 feet in front of me.
Wow.
And, it's a video studio, 4 cameras, all this kind of stuff. But this guy's going to show up here. I'm really excited. He's going to show up here Tuesday. Remember that, Don?
Chris Bruo,
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
He lives so close to you now. That's right. I forgot. He's doing college.
He's about a foot and a half taller now, too. He's not Cincinnati short rib anymore. He's a full rack, that boy.
That's right. Well,
he's the real deal.
He's at St. Louis U and aeronautics, and I saw him and his dad at Winterfest here in St. Louis a few months back. And I said, "Joycelyn, how's he doing?" He said, "Well, he's doing great. I come to visit him, and he took me up for an airplane ride. He got his pilot's license." Because of the part of the program. I said, "Well, how'd you like that?" Joycelyn, his father, says, "Well, that was one time I never had control, so I was okay."
And Chris is also a DJ for his college, too. Yeah.
I remember when we first met him. Yeah. When we first met him, it was at Dayton. He was much shorter than that, and he and Jocelyn came up, and Chris had just missed getting his technician license by a couple of questions. Yeah. And he went back and retook it and got it. And now, the rest is history. He's to hear him on the air. I mean, even as he was a kid, a much younger lad at field day, he was like, he ruled whatever frequency he was on. I mean, just amazing. And it's been so cool watching him grow up. And he was, of course, a Young Ham of the Year winner, and I got to present that to him actually at Neil Rapp's wedding. Was the year that we didn't go to Huntsville because of the pandemic. So that's a great family. It really is.
Good stuff.
They truly are good people.
Good memories.
They really are. Yep.
All right, Bob. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Give Bob his 2 hours at Dayton this year. If you see him busy if he's looking at that old Heathkit or that Drake, you just encourage. Oh, Bob, I had one other thing. This is so late.
One more question.
This is for me personally. Remember when you heard me on 14280 maybe a few weeks ago, and we were having a fun time talking, and we met the guy that had been producing the butternut antennas, and you come back several different times with all of your old rigs, and you just blew everyone away. It was a really, really fun time. Like one of the best times I've had on HF in forever. That was amazing to a lot of us that got to hear you jump in there, and we got to hear the difference of your different setups. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome. It's always fun to hear you guys and gals on the air. That's for sure. So anytime you hear me, call me. And I'm always on in the morning. but I'm usually on AM on 3885 in the window. So there's where you find me, but I'm around, so give me a buzz.
There you go. Thank you, Bob. All right, I think we have to go to Icom now.
Yep, let's go.
Be a Field Day leader. Field Day is ham radio's most popular event. On June 26th and 27th, more than 40,000 North American hams come together to operate remotely. Connect with nature. Connect with friends. With a powerful and high-quality Icom radio, easily cut through pileups to get that contesting edge. Our popular IC705 portable, IC7300, and IC7610 SDR transceivers are the clear choice for DXers and contesters across the globe. The IC705 is the perfect transceiver for hams who enjoy both the great indoors and outdoors on Field Day. Features and functionalities at the tips of your fingers in a portable package covering HF 6 meters, 2 meters, and 70 centimeters. And it weighs in at just under 2 pounds. 4.3-inch color touchscreen with live band scope and waterfall. 5 watts with BP 272, 10 watts with external 13.8 volt DC. Single sideband CW, AM, FM, as well as full D-Star functions. The IC7300 is a high-performance innovative HF transceiver with a compact design that will far exceed your expectations. This is a radio that changed the way entry-level HF is designed. RF direct sampling, 15 discrete bandpass filters, large 4.3-inch color touchscreen, real-time spectrum scope, and SD memory card slot. The real HF fun starts here. The IC7610 is the SDR every ham wants. This high-performance SDR has the ability to pick out faint signals in the presence of stronger adjacent signals. The Icom IC7610 is a direct sampling software-defined radio that has changed the world's definition of an SDR transceiver. RF direct sampling, 110 dB RMDR, independent dual receivers, and dual digicell. For more information on these and all the great Icom radios, visit icomamerica.com/amateur.
All right, and it's my turn now to say once again thank you, Icom, for supporting Ham Nation. Every time we have an episode, Icom picks 3 winners. These are the swag winners, and they go into the list, the growing list for the year, and every month they pick a winner for a radio. This month is an ID 5100. So the swag winners this week, or this episode, are Brian M. KC2SGI, Stephen L. KD9UKW, and Thomas P. KI6DDB. The grand prize winner, and I think we picked it a little early because we're rolling into Hamvention and we want to clear the books a little bit, I guess. Michael O. W5SSK, he was notified he won. He's a member of the Ham Radio Crash Course Facebook group, so it was really nice that he got pinged on that. If you want to get in on the swag giveaway or the monthly end of the radio giveaway at the end of the month, the link is in the description. Go to icomamerica.com/Ham Nation, and that's how you can enter. And you just do that every time we have a video, and you get in that swag list. And again, you want to get on that winning swag list so you get entered for the end of the month prizes. And a reminder for everybody that's going to Hamvention, please make sure you go to the Icom booth. Get there. I would recommend get there early because they are doing swag pack giveaways. Is that right, Amanda? Do you remember the details on that?
Oh boy, that swag pack. Okay, so let's backtrack there. I think that they have already decided all of the winners, and they said come see us at the booth to pick up your package. So I think those winners have already all been chosen.
I know we did pass the link out when we had the last episode.
We did.
I think the last 2 episodes, actually. So hopefully you all got in on that. But I will be live streaming all over the show, but I'll be spending some time there at the Icom booth, along with Gordo at his booth, and many others. So make sure you do come up. And I'll talk to you at the end a little bit. There's a lot of little after-hours events that we're planning. There's a lot of them, actually. So make sure to stick around, and we'll be talking about that at the end of this show and then on my Saturday show. Amanda, we're going back to you for more fun.
Thank you.
Hey, Amanda.
Oh.
Yes, sir.
Amanda?
Yes, sir.
I forgot something.
Yes.
There's a new book out, and everybody should get this. It's called America Radio's Unsung Hero. It's about Wes Shum.
Oh.
But this is an amazing book about amateur radio. early days up through present, and it's on Amazon. And I really entice everybody to get a hold of this. It's amazing. Nick Tusa, who was very close to him, wrote it. But man, the stories in here, it's how this hobby started and how it's being held together. So grab a hold of that copy. I think you're going to love it. Amateur Radio's Unsung Hero, and Amazon's got it. So
sounds amazing.
Nick Tusa's in New Orleans, Ham. He's not too far from me, actually, on the North Shore. So, yeah, I know Nick. Good guy.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Okay.
All right, Amanda.
Okay, well, I had one more announcement. This might come as a shock to some of you, but I talked to W5KUB the other day, also on 20 meters, and he said that he's not going to be able to do live streaming. So, bummer. Because he's been a staple there forever. All right, let me get to my guest. Hi, Michael. Thank you for waiting.
Hi, Amanda.
Wings. This is Michael Brulo, W3MSB, and not only is he a huge Skywarn proponent, he also happens to be one of the newest additions, I believe, to ABC 27 outside of Hershey, Pennsylvania, for some weather forecasting on the weekends. Is that true?
That's right. So they needed some help there on the weekends filling in. So I knew a couple of guys from college, and they reached out to me after seeing some of the Skywarn stuff that we've been doing here in the Harrisburg area, and it was a natural fit. Now, being on camera, not natural, but I'm getting the hang of it slowly.
It's okay. Don't take any tips from Don, and you'll be fine. I jab him every time I can. So first, before we get to showing how well you are at your job on ABC 27, I want you to talk a little bit about your Skywarn team and what you all do out there in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Sure. So Pennsylvania, you may not think, we don't get the big tornadoes you see on TV on the national news, but we get quite our share of severe weather starting this time of year in May and really lasting until September. We get some tropical storms with flooding in the fall, and then we used to get some good blizzards here too. They seem to be shifting a little bit more towards New Jersey now. But we've been active for as long as I've been a ham. That's been since 2008. The Central Pennsylvania Skywarn has been active. It was originally just the Harrisburg area Skywarn, and then we expanded it, so we had to become Central Pennsylvania. I think we cover close to 20 counties now.
Wow. And you have a repeater system to mostly cover a lot of that too, don't you?
We do. We have one really great repeater here just outside of Harrisburg that covers most of South Central PA. And then because the National Weather Service is all the way up in State College, which is up where Penn State is, smack dab in the center of the state, they could get into our repeater directly. But when I was in college up there at Penn State, we built this little UHF link for them to get in. And the Skywarn group has grown so much since then that now we have a full-time repeater up there that links in with us down here. So we have a full-time link that's really great. We're out storm spotting, or if we're watching from our houses, we can get on the radio and directly talk to someone at the Weather Service, which is, 10 years ago wasn't the case. And thanks to, the great community we have here of volunteers, we've grown so quickly that now we have a direct line there.
That's absolutely correct. And I think every Skywarn team is different depending on how their NWS welcomes them in or what radio equipment they have to monitor all of your reporting. But with that, Josh, if you don't mind going to the top left link, we're going to show Michael in action via his job, but also as a Skywarn liaison.
Oh,
thank you.
By midday Saturday, about 3.5 inches of rain has fallen since the event began Friday morning. I'm standing in front of the Swedera Creek in Derry Township at Boathouse Park, where the creek is about bank full and expected to crest over the next 24 hours. A few of the smaller creeks and streams, like the Manada Creek, have exceeded their banks, and there is some flooding in lower lying areas. Also, as we move through the day here on Saturday, the winds are beginning to pick up, and we are receiving reports from the Skywarn spotters of a few downed trees across the road on 743 in southern Dauphin County. Reporting from Derry Township, Dauphin County, Michael Bruo, ABC 27 News.
Now, I apologize. I couldn't crank the volume any more than that. That's all she got, so I'm sorry about that.
That was fine, though. That was awesome. So this was cool because you got to give Skywarn recognition and everything else. So with that, this is where Mike, you and I are going to talk about why it's important to take Skywarn classes. And Josh, if top right link now. Maybe you can go to that to show people where they can get their Skywarn training. Why is this important, Mike, to all of us?
Yeah, so Skywarn, as many of you already know, we're the eyes on the ground, we're the boots on the ground. If you look at the Skywarn logo, it's literally an eyeball with the reflection of a tornado in the background. So we're the ground truth. That's the word I was thinking of. We're the ground truth for the Weather Service, and that does a couple things. Number one, it helps them issue warnings in a timely manner. So if they're watching a storm develop, we can provide real-time reports that lead them to issue warnings ahead of time prior to radar picking up on it. And secondly, if there is damage in an area, the reports we provide, especially here in Pennsylvania, where we don't get huge tornadoes, around here you flip a coin whether it's straight line winds or a tornado. But thanks to the reports from Skywarn spotters, the Weather Service will then conduct surveys. So we're giving them data that helps them do their job. We're just one piece of the puzzle helping them do their job. It's all volunteer, of course, and we're mostly storm spotters. So, we're just staying at our house, and whatever we see, we report. So the training itself doesn't really train you to be a storm chaser. It's enough to get you to say, hey, that cloud is a scary looking cloud, but it's not a tornado. Right. That's the number one thing, because the general public sees any kind of funnel shaped cloud and they think tornado. So, that's one thing that we try to frown upon is, false reporting of severe weather from untrained people. So we're trying to get as many people Skywarn certified as you can. And here,
absolutely.
Here in State College, there's a basic course and an advanced course. So everyone can take the basic course once, twice, 3 times, doesn't matter. And then about once a year, they offer an advanced course, which goes over how to use the radar and more advanced topics like that.
Absolutely. And some of the things that they do offer a course on NWS for the basic online only. And I discourage everybody, if anyone's interested in actually doing this, because it's really fun to go in person now that they're actually having in person, because that's where you're actually going to have an amateur radio representative and talking about maybe giving your local repeaters where they would be listening for traffic of severe weather. Right. Again, learning about your severe weather reportable criteria is very important. But as Josh was just showing, we had a fellow from Austin, Texas saying, where can I find out about Skywarn training? You go directly to that link and you click on your state and find your county, and then you can find which classes are available to you. And unfortunately, we're getting to this a little bit late in the season. So places in Texas, Oklahoma, you name it, Tornado Alley, if you want to call it that, have probably already gone through their Skywarn trainings for this year. But there's still some areas in Colorado and such that are just beginning to have theirs. So and Don, are you Skywarn? You're Skywarn storm spotter, right?
I've gone through. I haven't gone through the advanced course, but I've gone through the basic a couple of times. Okay. And I wanted to show you something here, if you can come to me real quick. I think sir. Michael will agree. Anybody who's interested in weather at all, you need to have an app on your phone, and it's called Radar Scope. I was looking to see, there's nothing on the radar down by us. This is Minneapolis, Minnesota radar, and if this doesn't look like a hurricane, I don't know what does. They've got some pretty severe weather going on up there.
You know what, Don? We just had our weekly Skywarn net here at 9 o'clock, and one of our net control stations, W3DLB, he got on the radio during his check-in, and instead of giving a weather report at his location, he's like, hey, everyone, go to Minneapolis and look at that.
Yeah. So it's crazy.
It's really neat-looking structure.
Thankfully, the New Orleans radar is clear tonight, so I'm very happy about that. But and, of course, the Atlantic hurricane season is starting June 1st, so I'm heavily involved in that. Growing up in Oklahoma, I learned all about tornadoes, and in fact, I went back for one of my high school reunions. My wife and I were in the final tornado-warned area for the El Reno storm.
Oh,
the one that killed the 3 storm chasers, and we were in the final tornado-warned area. My wife Dawn had never really been in that kind of weather, and she was beside herself.
Terrified, I'm sure.
She really was, yeah. She grew up around tornadoes.
Some cuss words.
Yeah, she grew up around hurricanes where, it pops up and it's like, okay, well, we have a week to 10 days to watch it. And then, okay, well, we got we need to go now, and then, you spend a long weekend in Little Rock and then you come home. Or in the case of Hurricane Katrina, no, you spend 2 weeks in Little Rock. And then for our case, we didn't go home because our house was flooded. But nonetheless, yeah, it's everybody, and there's weather everywhere. It doesn't have to be tornadoes. It doesn't have to be hurricanes. It can be blizzards. It can be anything.
That's what I was going to get to.
There's weather everywhere, and you need to be Skywarn trained. You really do. You need to learn how to look up in the sky and see something and recognize what's going on, and it will give you just a little bit of an extra edge to maybe get out of the way of something bad.
Amen. I have to say, so we think that tornadoes and other natural disasters might be the most horrific, but a lot of times you read that flooding is. So you need flash flooding and flooding, which we have here out in the western states, especially after severe burn scars, things like that. Gordo knows all about this as well. So you watch for severe winds, and you're reporting all of your severe winds, and then you're in a fire danger watch. So it doesn't matter where you live in the country. There is something that tells you that you need to take Skywarn spotting. Wouldn't you agree, Mike?
Absolutely. Here in Pennsylvania, our number one killer is flash flooding, as it is in many other places across the country. So we're giving reports of how quickly do we get our first inch of rain? Does it occur over an hour or over 20 minutes? And that stuff leads to really life-saving warnings that they put out for flash flooding. Because in urban areas like the city of Harrisburg, man, they can get some crazy flooding.
It's crazy down here in Hurricane Alley. There were a lot of cases where people got caught by the flooding in Katrina, and they went to their attics, and people were getting trapped in their attics. And the ones who were smart and thought ahead, they keep axes in their attics so they can chop their way out. Because the more people die in hurricanes because of the flooding than the winds. It's really sad.
It is. Okay, one more thing I want to get over here is first we have to brag about Michael's new job. So Josh, I have 2 links to photos. And look at this guy.
Nice job. Look at that.
Wow.
He looks so professional.
You like my little Twitter handle there?
Yeah, there you
go. We
nice.
love that.
Oh,
you look like you went to those Hamvention slides from back in the day. You look at that tie. That's great.
He looks so snazzy, and this is how I found you, Michael, is on Twitter. I was like, wait, what? I've got a weather guy on air. I've got to bring him to the show. Okay, the next one is just a little bit more bragging for him. He's got some action photos there. He's gonna have a great LinkedIn profile. You're doing fantastic.
Thank you.
And you're just getting started. So if you're not the next Jim Cantori, I don't even know what to say.
Gotta look more hair first.
What? Or a little bit more action in your videos, like the wind could have been blowing you a little bit more.
I couldn't be standing in the creek.
Exactly.
It's so funny because it's true.
But I just want to say safety first, of course, everybody.
Yes.
There's a difference between storm spotting and storm chasing. Skywarn certification is not going to get you what you need to be a storm chaser. You're not going to be the next Reed Timmer just from being a Skywarn spotter. What you will do, though, is be the eyes and ears on the ground and really provide the ground truth safely, hopefully from your house, and help the Weather Service do their job.
Firm. And, we've all gotten, I don't know about everybody, but we've received phone calls from the NWS saying, it looks like it should be hailing right at your location. What can you report? They've called us directly because it looked like they had our spotter number, and they saw that there was somebody there that could possibly report. So, All right, Mike, thank you so much for being with us.
No problem, Amanda. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. Who do I send it? Gordo. Do I have Gordo next? Or
why don't we
I
go
have
Gordo since he may have to
Gordo?
jump? Let's go to Gordo.
Okay.
Sorry, Don, you got to wait a little bit.
No,
Gordo also needs to jump in to help out in the ham radio sense, taking care of stuff. What's going on, Gordo?
Well, first of all, I want to say the new technician class book is out, and guess who's inside the book is Josh.
What?
And his YouTube spots. So when you get the new tech book, be sure and check out Josh. Well, speaking of weather, the weather's supposed to be great for the outside swap meet that Michael Kalter is talking all about. And 3 years ago, look at this. a wonderful automatic outside tuner from SGC, a kilowatt tuner going for about $300. But I'm also happy to report that if you want to stay within budget and you want to buy new, the LDG 100A automatic tuner is a good way to go. So let's take a look and a fast look at automatic tuners. Here we go. We did a lot of automatic tuners testing at Quartzfest every year, and we find that Don N9ZGE brings a whole slew of them. Automatic tuners that are external to the transceiver generally will handle a much higher standing wave ratio. They have the automatic tuners for outside use, have a rubber O-ring all the way around them to keep the moisture out. The LDG tuners are inside tuners, but they have almost the same capacity and certainly less expensive than some of these other mammoth tuners that we use aboard boats and so on. And one of the best tuners around, made by Icom America, the AH4, again, this is going to do a lot more in tuning long wires than any type of long wire with a magic ballon that is in the end of it. These really will take 100 watts in and put some very high voltage that you see on the high voltage output out. The tuners, including the LDG, all come with a companion cable to match the specific transceiver. For the Icom America AH4, you do need to take the top off and see that black ring. Don't forget that that's properly seated because this is an outside tuner to minimize losses on the coax cable. You first want to put in coax that they supply on the top ring and your 4-conductor for controlling the Icom transceivers. And that 4-conductor, not absolutely critical if you decide to do another type of tuner with either the SGC or the LDG 100A. You can make them tune up just by going 4 while you're doing the tuner push button routine. Of course, you got to do a little bit of coax stripping, and we show you this shot to say don't strip the coax over the tuner's innards because you could easily short things out. There is a single conductor, a nice thick braid, PL259, where you can see the braid through the holes, and the center conductor is securely in place once you give it a solder. Little solder on the braid. You can see a little bit of braid still coming out the back end of it. That's not a problem. And bingo, you're able to put that after it goes through the hole in the tuner top, put on the PL259. You got to be sure and do that after you get the coax in, and you're ready to hook it up to the tuner's innards. Automatic tuners and all tuners have inductance, that's X sub L, and they have capacitance, that's the blue ones, the little capacitors there. The inductors are the open coils. And when we have resonance, the capacitive reactance equals the inductive reactance, and that 100 watts coming out of the coax from the radio makes it through either relays or a switching network to get to the output. Now, these relays are very important because the LDG 100A, that tuner, not outside, but it's an inside tuner, the relays stay latched so you can remove the voltage and you don't lose tune-up capabilities. On that last shot you just saw, be sure and add coax seal, especially if you're going outside where the tuners, the long wire tuners, belong. Good ground will help. There's your antenna connector. Caution, don't over tighten that because then it'll work the wire on the inside of the tuner off the board and you're cooked until you get in there and resolder it. So make sure the wing nut is just tight enough. And again, coax seal is a great way to keep any moisture from creeping down the output wire. Now, can I run a tuner instead of the big coil on the right-hand side? Can I run the tuner to drive a whip on the left-hand side, the left rear of this vehicle? You could, but you won't get quite the signal that you would with a larger inductor. So as Don N9ZGE will tell you, there's a lot about tuners, and the big thing is if you're going to mount it outside, you're going to want a tuner that has the seal all the way around it to keep out the moisture. And the LDG tuner, which does not have the seal, this is an inside tuner, but they have a 4-to-1 and an 8-to-1 balun that can go on the output, because the output on this LDG tuner is 50 ohm, but they can bring that up for a long wire with their matching balun. So that's all about automatic tuners. Most important, now that Michael Kalter has all of the swap mate grounds perfectly graded, he and I and all of you will be out there looking for deals like this. $1,000 tuner running 1,000 watts for about $300 used, and it was perfectly operational. So we'll see you next week out at the swap mate, and as Bob said, get there early. All right, Amanda, back to you, and we'll see everybody next week and at Dayton, Ohio, Hamvention.
Okay, we're actually going to send it over to Don. Take it away, Don.
All right.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get into the news of the week, shall we? From Amateur Radio Newsline, a little Dr. T stuff, and then I'm going to tell you about one of the cooler souvenirs you'll find at Hamvention. So let's go ahead and get into the Newsline news of the week. From Amateur Radio Newsline Report number 2323, this is Ham Nation headlines for Wednesday, May 11, 2022. Ham radio experimenters in Australia have reported great success with their latest balloon launch, despite a last-minute adjustment to their game plan.
There was a slight change in plans for the high-altitude balloon launch in Australia by Project Horus, a part of the South Australia-based Amateur Radio Experimenters Group. The weather balloon had a successful launch on Sunday the 1st of May, but this was a telemetry-only trip. According to the AREG website, the forecast and the expected cloud cover did not make for ideal conditions for imagery. The experimenters group said the flight's goal was to provide receivers in the central South Australia region with a chance to receive the telemetry using the Horus GUI software. The balloon carried a single 70-centimetre beacon on board. The experimenters group noted on their website, quote, "Every piece of telemetry data is valuable to the flight tracking and recovery teams," end quote. Despite the adjustment in plans, organisers proclaimed the flight a success. An enthusiastic Mark Jessup, VK5QI, the lead member of Project Horus, announced on Twitter, quote, "Great to see so many stations receiving," end quote. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Jason Daniels, VK2LAW.
An amateur radio club in Indiana will be able to upgrade its emergency response equipment thanks to 2 generous gifts.
The emergency response work for hams in the Northeastern Indiana Amateur Radio Association just got a big boost from more than $33,000 in grants to buy additional equipment, including a trailer. The club's Go Box project, a key tool for efficient response in disasters, has received a grant of nearly $3,000 from the ARRL Foundation. The club's other project is to buy a trailer and furnish it with an analog and digital repeater, radios, and an array of software, including WinLink and FL-Digi. That effort has just been given a grant of nearly $30,000 from San Diego-based Amateur Radio Digital Communications. When the trailer is not in use, supporting the activity of amateur radio emergency services, it will be taken to public events to be part of various amateur radio demonstrations and public education. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Stephen Kinford, NAWB.
And congratulations are in order for one of our Newsline and Ham Nation family. Newsline anchor Paul Brown, WD9GCO, has the details.
Congratulations to Newsline's own Amanda Alden, K1DDN, who will be taking up the responsibility of serving as the ARRL Colorado Section Manager starting on July 1st. Amanda will succeed Robert Wareham, N0ESQ, whose resignation takes effect on June 30th. The ARRL announced the change in leadership on Friday, April 29th on its website. Robert cited time constraints as his reason for stepping down following his long period of service within the league. He has been Public Information Coordinator, Section Emergency Coordinator, and State Government Liaison. In addition to being well known to Newsline listeners and Ham Nation viewers, Amanda has been Assistant Section Manager and Regional Emergency Coordinator for the South and Southeast All Hazards region of Colorado.
A reminder, the nominating period for the 2022 Bill Pasternak WA6 ITF Amateur Radio Newsline Young Ham of the Year Award is now open.
The nominating form can be found on our website, arnewsline.org. Hover your mouse over Awards and you'll see it in the top of the drop-down menu. We invite you to join us in Alabama at the Huntsville Hamfest on Saturday, August 20th, as we present the award live on the main stage. To learn more about the Huntsville Hamfest, please visit hamfest.org.
And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news for 4 decades and counting at arnewsline.org. With Jason Daniels, VK2LAW, Stephen Kinford, N8WB, Paul Brown, WD9GCO, Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT at the news desk in New York, and our news team across the globe, I'm Don Wellbanks, AE5DW. 7-3. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation. Now here's the solar update from Dr. Tamitha Skov, WX6SWW.
We have 2 X-flare players on the Earth-facing disk, 2 filaments that are poised to erupt, and an Earth-directed stealthy solar storm. Those stories and more in the news this week. Space weather this week is continuing to keep our attention. As we take a look at the Earth-facing disk, all eyes back around the turn of the month were on the east limb as old region 2994 began to rotate into view, and it started firing off big M-class flares and even an X-class flare before it was fully in view yet and got its new number. Its new number is now 3006. And while we've been watching this region firing off a bunch of flares, region 3004 also started to develop, and by the 3rd, this region was firing off big M-class flares and an X-class flare. In fact, this region on the 3rd destabilized a whole larger region that then launched a stealthy Earth-directed solar storm, and we're going to talk more about that in a minute. Meanwhile, these 2 regions have been continuing to trade M-class flares back and forth. They are still X-flare players, so we are keeping an eye on them, but we are also keeping an eye on the 2 filaments that are sitting here in the north. The first one here actually looks like it's kind of erupting a little bit as we speak, but the second one looks like it's getting unstable, and that would mean we could possibly get yet another Earth-directed solar storm, so we're definitely going to keep our eyes on those. Meanwhile, we have yet another region that's going to be rotating into Earth view here in the next couple days, and it is also a solar storm producer. So aurora photographers, man, you're going to get a lot of chances for potential aurora here over this next week, and amateur radio operators and emergency responders, those radio blackouts are going to keep on coming. Switching to our M-flare threat meter, you can see as we take a look at the X-ray flux back on the 30th, you can see things rising quite quickly and pop, pop, pop. Look at all these big flares. This was all due to region 2994, which became relabeled 3006. And you can see that big X flare there. That region continued to fire easily over that day before things began to calm down just a little bit. And it definitely caused some radio blackouts. Luckily, we got a little bit of a reprieve into the 2nd, but then region 3004 started really growing rapidly, and you can see once again back by the 3rd, pop, pop, pop. Once again, we're getting these big flares, including an X flare. This is from region 3004. This is also about the time when that stealthy solar storm was launched toward Earth that is still making its way towards Earth and should hit us around the 9th. Meanwhile, things continue to ramp back down a little bit, but regions 3004 and 3006 are both still big flare players, so don't expect these radio blackouts to go away anytime soon, and this means amateur radio operators and emergency responders, especially those using GPS reception, you're going to be dealing with radio blackouts on Earth's day side, and this does extend into dawn and dusk, so be aware of that. Plus, we have that new region that's going to be rotating into Earth view over the next few days, and that means big flares will remain on the menu. Switching to our solar storm conditions, as you can see, back on April 30th was really the last time we actually had any decent activity. Mainly this was due to some fast solar one, but we had a little bit of solar storms, like mini solar storms packed in there, and that managed to bump us to active conditions and then up to storm levels for a short bit before things began to settle down. Now, we did have another solar storm, but it grazed us on the 1st. It grazed us off to the west. That managed to keep us at unsettled conditions conditions for a little bit, but really didn't bring us a lot new aurora chances. So things have been settling down, and now we're kind of sitting at quiet conditions. And now we do have that other stealthy solar storm that is due to hit us right around late on the 8th and into the 9th. So possibly these conditions could bump up just a little bit, but I'm not going to get too excited because this storm is expected to be pretty weak. Switching to our solar flare and particle radiation storm outlook over the coming week, we do have several big flare players on the Earth-facing disk this week, including region 3004 and region 3006, and this does mean that we have big risks for radio blackouts. In fact, NOAA's giving us about a 60% chance of big M flares and even a 25% chance of X-class flares over the next few days, and things may settle down just a little bit as the week progresses. But remember, we do have that new region that's going to rotate into Earth view here over the next couple days, and it could be a big flare player too. So that means radio blackouts are still on the menu for Earth's day side, and this does include issues near dawn and dusk for you GPS users, so stay vigilant. Now, we also have solar flux sitting well into the triple digits. This could actually boost into the 120s when that new region rotates into view. We're just going to have to stay and see how it pans out when that region rotates into view and to see how active it is. But amateur radio operators, this does mean that we should get some decent radio propagation on Earth's day side, and it will maintain like that easily through the rest of this week and possibly next week as well, as long as you can handle all the noise on the bands from all these big flare players. Now, as we take a look at the radiation storm possibility, right now we're sitting at the D1 normal level, but we do have an elevated risk for radiation storms, and this is due to those big flare players rotating to the sun's west limb. We have about a 10% chance of a radiation storm over the next few days, and that risk will easily remain like that and possibly grow over the next week or so. We're just going to have to stay vigilant. So if you are an airline traveler, or you are a GPS user at high latitudes, or an amateur radio operator, stay vigilant because we could get a radiation storm at any time. So the space weather this week continues to be a bit on the exciting side. We do have two big flare players in Earth view, and they continue to be firing off some big solar flares, and that could mean more solar storms could be on the way. Right now, we do have a stealthy Earth-directed solar storm that could give us some aurora at high latitudes. So aurora photographers, definitely keep yourself on your toes. You could get some decent aurora shows at high latitudes. Mid-latitude aurora photographers, you're likely going to have to sit this one out though, but that's not so bad because we do have yet another big solar storm producer that's going to be rotating into Earth view, and that could give us some more solar storm chances here over this next week. So keep your fingers crossed. Now, amateur radio operators and emergency responders, well, I'm sure you're loving that solar flux being boosted, but you're not really loving all the radio blackouts. And well, sad to say that those radio blackouts may still be continuing over this next week with this new region that's going to be rotating into view. So be sure to stay vigilant and kind of just, hang in there because things will get better maybe over the next 2 weeks or so. Now, also you GPS users, definitely stay vigilant near dawn and near dusk, and possibly even on the night side, because we're going to have that weak solar storm, but if it brings aurora, that could be enough to cause some GPS reception issues for you. So as long as you stay away from those regions, your GPS should be pretty good. I'm Tamitha Skov, the Space Weather Woman. Thank you for watching.
Hopefully you saw all of Dr. T, and that is about a 3 or 4 day old report. So, of course, you want to follow her on Twitter at Tamitha Skov to get the absolute latest. Now, I want to take some time to tell you about, I'm kind of a lanyard freak. I don't mind telling you, I like lanyards a lot. And once again, at Dayton, the Venture Crew 73, and isn't that like the perfect number for a Venture Crew for Dayton, Ohio? The lanyards are back, and they're a gorgeous blue that says Dayton Hamvention 2022. You get a lanyard and your ticket laminated for $5, and for another $5 you can get the commemorative patch, which is very swanky. Nice. All the cool kids will be walking around with their laminated tickets and their patches on the 2022 Dayton Hamvention lanyard. And Also, I believe the Hamvention tickets are the same color blue as well, which is kind of nice. So yeah, very, very cool. I love lanyards. I've got this now. This is the new one. I've got an Icom lanyard, which I like a whole lot. So let's put this on. Let's see. I've got another Icom lanyard with Michael Kalter. Will remember this. He gave me this pin in 2017. Thank you, Michael. I still have it on my thing. This is, of course, my VE credentials. So I've got this lanyard. Let's see. Even though I've never been to Orlando, Hamcation, I've got the 2019 Orlando lanyard. So I have this, and I have my old ARRL lanyard. I have this. Now, Gordo mentioned SGC tuners. Somewhere I have an SGC lanyard, but I can't find that. I have I Rock the Hall with Heil lanyard somewhere. I don't know where the lanyard is, but I have the tag that was on the back of it. Now, some people say that I may have a lanyard problem, but clearly I really don't. Because here's the rest of the Hamvention lanyards that I have. And as you can see, I don't have a lanyard problem at all because they all fit perfectly over my head. So if you too want to be one of the cool kids and start your own lanyard fetish, be sure to stop by just outside the main gate and also booth number 4011. That's in the main building, the main tent with the prize drum. And it's under here somewhere. Oh, here it is. Yeah. Get you one of these and get your ticket laminated. And get the cool patch and support the Venture Crew number 73. I want to thank George Ewing, WD8 NHI, for spearheading that and for enabling my lanyard fetish. And that's kind of all I have right now. I think I may need to join us.
Do you have one more drop to mention, and that is Young Ham of the Year?
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, it's the nominating period is rapidly coming to a close. May 31st, the last, however many days there are in May, 30 days, 31 days. That'll be the last day that you can get your nomination form in for Young Ham of the Year. Of course, go to arnewsline.org. Download that and nominate a very fitting Young Ham of the Year. And we will, of course, see you exactly 3 months after the Dayton Hamvention in Huntsville at the Huntsville Hamfest, which is one of the great hamfests. And there you go. There's the website, arnewsline.org, and that's where you can find the nominating form. Fill it out. Email it back into us before midnight Eastern time on the last day of May, and we will compile all that, and we will honor, hopefully, your very much deserving Young Ham of the Year. Michael, I'm going to miss you at Hamvention, my friend, but your hat inspired me. I wanted to get my Akubra out tonight, so there we go. We're the Hat Brothers now. I will wear it next time. I will have. If you're coming to to Huntsville, I'll have this. I'll wear it. You wear your hat, and I'll wear mine, and it'll be great.
Let's see if he's
not each other's.
We can swap.
There. No, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know which one I like more. I think I like Mike's hat, though. I gotta say, Mike's got a good-looking hat on.
Very swanky. Yeah, the hat fits it. Looks good.
I gotta say, Don, you really are looking like the Mr. T of ham radio lanyards right there. I gotta say, it's a little bit about what you got going on there.
That's right. I pity the fool. Over.
Over. Well, we lost Gordo there because he had to head out for the for supporting his local. What's the group that he's with? It's not. I can't remember their volunteer Firewatch.
Yeah. Yes, and it's important there in California, as you know, Josh, obviously. So are you smelling any smoke from that yet, Josh?
No, but I'll be able to walk outside and see if I could see it down south from me. Laguna Beach is pretty far from me, but not so far that, I'm not going to see the smoke from here.
Oh, yeah. But, we have ash from New Mexico here, and it's hundreds of miles away, so...
Hey, speaking real quick of Young Ham of the Year, I found the 2019 Dayton Hamvention Crew 73 patch, and this one is mentoring the young generation. So that's all about the Young Ham of the Year thing too. So it all comes together. So there you go. Get your lanyard and enjoy Hamvention. Sorry, I'm gonna miss it.
Well, all right, Josh. One quick. I know we're like way out of time, but
I gotta mention. Yeah, go ahead.
What are you doing in Dayton? People wanted to know about if you're live streaming. What's your content going to be?
There is a whole lot of stuff going on. All the there's so many YouTubers that are going, but there will be schedules posted, and so schedules are going to differ a little bit because people have slightly different schedules. But I will be going to the Voice of America Thursday evening. Meet anybody who wants to go at 4 p.m. 4 p.m. And we're going to do a tour with Jocelyn. Jocelyn has been emailing me, and he was saying, hey, there's a really good brew pub, which he mentioned last time. It's where they have the Cincinnati Liars Lager, I think is what it was called, which is just a great name. So he's actually put us in a little bit of a reservation for about 30 people to go after the tour. It's literally like a mile or so from the VOA. So we're just
I think I've been there.
We're going to go take, I think it's called Grain.
I think he took me there.
Grain Belt, Grain Built or Grain Belt. So we'll be going straight there after the fact. So if anybody wants to come along with us, we'll have a couple of drinks there. That's Thursday. Friday night, we're going to be at the Hope Hotel after the show. So we're going to kind of mosey on over there. There's going to be a lot of fun stuff going on at the Hope Hotel, so make sure everybody goes to that. And then Saturday is going to kind of be the big one, and that's at the Troll Pub. It's in Dayton proper, I believe, and they have a special room for us. Just, ask where the Hamvention folks are all at, and they'll point you in the right direction. But we do have a room for that, like a proper space. And then, of course, I'm going to be all over the show. I'll be running around like crazy, saying hi to everybody, and I'll do my typical walk-in live so long as the cell phone signal is commensurate to that. Otherwise, I may be stationary at different booths doing some live stuff. So just keep an eye out. Make sure you subscribe and click the bell, and you'll hear the videos.
And you're coming to Huntsville too, aren't you, Josh?
I'm booked. I got my flight and my hotel, and those three. I'm probably doing all three of them a year, I think is my plan.
Yeah. Well, I'll probably need your help in Huntsville to untangle all these and get them off my neck.
Yeah, indeed. But that is a nice collection, though. I have to say that's pretty nice.
Yep. George Ewing sent me. I think he told me last night. I think that he has a complete collection, and I have a complete collection of all of the lanyards, the Venture Crew 73. So I'm kind of stoked about that. I do love lanyards. There's something about them. I just think they're cool.
They are.
Oh, and don't forget, Mike Kalter wanted us to know that their local NWS is going to be having a forum there at Dayton as well. So anyone interested in Skywarn or any of that stuff, be sure to look on the program. I'm sure it's all printed out or on the actual app, which I heard is the best ever.
Well worth your time.
You'll be able to find that forum.
I was thinking to myself while you were doing the talk, I'm like, oh, well, California, we don't have, hurricanes or tornadoes. And then you hit me with the floods, and I'm like, oh, yeah, we flood constantly.
Yeah,
there's fire, everything burns, and then there's nothing to hold the water back, and we just flood. So I'm like, oh,
this
is a no-brainer. I'm going to go get the training right now.
Fires, it's all environmental. Yep. It all falls under weather. Yeah, there's something everywhere.
Hey.
Rainfall per hour, trees breaking off in the winds. Right. I mean, okay, so palm trees, I wouldn't say are the same as our 150-year-old pine trees breaking off and falling over, but still is important.
You haven't lived till you've seen a big branch fall off a 300-year live oak in the wind. That's pretty impressive. And and we lost in Hurricane Katrina on our property here in Mississippi. We lost 52 trees, including a bunch of really tall pine trees that tend to snap like toothpicks right in the middle.
Yep.
It's just scary as it can be.
Amanda.
Okay, I have to go over the nets real quick. Sorry.
Yep, there you go.
14 Charlie D Star, DMR 31012, and HF 20 meters a no-go. They did have some pretty bad solar disruptions today, but 7192 so far is a go. So there you have it. Join us again next in 2 weeks when May 25th, and we'll probably be doing a Dayton recap at that point in time. Thank you, everybody.
I'll bring out all the stuff that I bought from the flea market, and I'll show it on video.
Is that going to be okay? Does Leia know about that? Or is this going to be like a hidden? Okay.
She knows that if I start bringing an extra suitcase, that she's usually in for some trouble. Because I'm just a backpack traveler normally. I try and do in and out one backpack. But if I'm pulling a bag, she knows there's trouble brewing. So
I may have to text you my T-shirt size and have you snag one for me, Josh, and I'll take care of you in Huntsville.
Yeah. There you go. We'll do.
Also, thank you to our awesome guests tonight. And
Absolutely.
Bob is no guest whatsoever, but he really wanted to be treated as such. And Bob, that's not you. But thank you to Mike Kalter and also Mike Brulo. You guys were awesome. So.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, I just want to say 7-3. If you're going to be out in Dayton, make sure you come say hi. And if you got some time, hit us up for one of the after hours things. You know, like I said, VOA, Hope Hotel. By the way, Hope Hotel is going to be fun every day. If you can't make it out to one of our things, make sure you go there for Contest U and the whole, and make sure you get your lanyard. I did that, I do that every year too. So make sure you get in on that.
Because when you go into one of those tents, you got to show your ticket. And if it's laminated right around your neck, all you got to do is that and in you're in.
That's it.
So lamination is everything. Yep. Go ahead.
No, that's
Close it out.
We'll play out. All right, everybody, take it easy. See ya. Michael Brulo, thank you so much for your time here today and your video, all that stuff. I think it's really cool.
Thanks for having
pictures of you working. That's awesome. Ham radio on the news. Love it.
Yeah, congrats on the TV gig too, Brulo. Nice stuff.
The funny thing is, on my first night, they introduced me obviously with another meteorologist, and he introduced me as Skywarn Ham Radio. So it was like plugs from the very beginning.
Oh,
wow.
Very nice. Several of my favorite YouTubers are up in the Harrisburg area. Street Speed 717 and all those